There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from the absence of noise, but from the presence of a question that keeps echoing inside. Why am I not there yet? You look around and see others achieving, arriving, manifesting. You've studied, you've planned, you've done the inner work, and still, something feels stuck. Quietly, invisibly, your heart wonders if the window of success has already closed. And even though no one sees it, there's guilt. Guilt for not being enough, for not having done more, or for simply not having arrived. But maybe the question isn't about how much you've done. Maybe the real question is, what frequency are you tuned into? Because success isn't only built on intention and effort, it's built on resonance. That's what Napoleon Hill tried to teach us when he said, "Thoughts are things." He didn't mean random thoughts. He meant thoughts vibrating with purpose, emotion, and clarity. Thoughts that have weight. Thoughts that align with the invisible laws of reality. Because success, true success, isn't a prize you chase. It's a frequency you sustain. There are people with brilliant ideas, tireless discipline, and deep commitment who still don't break through. Not because they lack merit, but because their inner frequency still carries static. Guilt, self-doubt, emotional exhaustion. Wanting, but not embodying. Dreaming, but not yet resonating. The difference between effort and arrival often lies in the space between the heart and the mind, and it's in that space that the electromagnetic field of your being vibrates, either in harmony or in noise. Greg Braden speaks of the coherence between heart and brain, that when both pulse in emotional alignment, not just intellectually but viscerally, reality becomes a mirror, not of what you say, not even of what you want, but of what you are. This is not metaphysics for the sake of theory. It's a living truth. The quantum field around you doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your signal. So today, let's go deeper. Let's explore what Napoleon Hill truly meant by organized thought and faith. Let's understand the emotional architecture behind manifestation. Let's decode the subtle vibrations that attract, repel, or delay what you're calling into your life. Because the real secret isn't in pushing harder. It's in tuning better. Think of your mind as a quantum radio. You can turn the dial with all your strength. You can keep shouting your desire into the universe, but unless the channel is clear, the sound will never come through. Success doesn't arrive by pressure. It arrives by precision. And that precision comes from a silent alignment, a resonance between thought, feeling, and action that says to the universe, "I'm not just ready. I'm already vibrating as if it's done." This video is not about motivation. It's about attunement. It's about helping you hear the invisible sound within and learning how to harmonize it with the frequency of success. Because when that sound is clear, the world responds. Not by chance, but by law. It's easy to confuse movement with momentum. You're doing everything, checking every box, filling every hour, but deep down, you feel like nothing is really shifting. It's like pedaling a bicycle on a treadmill. Your body tires, your mind races, but the scenery doesn't change. The world tells you to work harder, so you do. But effort without alignment is like shouting in a crowded room. A lot of noise, but no message received. Napoleon Hill made it clear. Faith is the state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. In other words, faith is a vibrational state, not an abstract hope, but a frequency that communicates with the field. When your effort isn't built on coherent faith, when it's driven by fear, by urgency, by scarcity, it doesn't build momentum. It builds static. The universe doesn't feel your workload, it feels your signal. And that's where the myth crumbles, because doing more doesn't always mean becoming more. The emotional quality behind your action matters more than the quantity. If the energy driving your effort is frantic, desperate, or ungrounded, it won't lead to expansion. It will lead to depletion. The law of vibration precedes the law of attraction. If your vibration is dissonant, the volume of action becomes irrelevant. Think of this. If you're pounding on the wrong door with all your might, you won't suddenly turn it into the right one. You'll just end up bruised. Success isn't a door that opens by force. It's a door that opens by signal. And that signal is clarity. It's presence. It's emotional precision. Not a desperate rush, but a calm alignment. So pause, not to stop moving, but to feel, to check in. Ask yourself, What frequency am I really operating from? Is it certainty? Is it peace? Is it trust? Or is it fear, proving, comparison? Because that, more than your calendar or checklist, will determine what comes next. The truth is, the universe doesn't respond to how much you do. It responds to how clearly you vibrate. Before any visible change occurs in your outer world, a silent reconfiguration must happen within. This is not metaphor. It is physics, biology, and energy. Greg Braden reminds us that the mind is not just a collection of thoughts. It is an energetic transmitter, an architect of electromagnetic fields. What you think, you emit. What you feel, you amplify. And when thought and feeling are misaligned, the signal gets distorted, and so does the outcome. This is where many get trapped. They crave abundance, but the body still vibrates in fear. They imagine success, but their breath shortens when it comes close. The mind speaks hope, but the nervous system whispers, "We're not safe." And the universe listens to that whisper. It listens to the vibration that lives beneath your words. Napoleon Hill called this magnetizing the mind, becoming a mental magnet for what you seek, not just intellectually, but biologically. Because what you cannot hold in your nervous system, you will unconsciously repel. Desire must become safety. Vision must become home. If the future you want feels foreign to your body, your energy will push it away, even while your words pull it closer. That's why emotional recalibration matters, not as performance but as integration. The body needs to learn what it feels like to be at peace with what you want, to breathe slowly in the presence of possibility, to relax into the reality you've only dreamed of, because the field around you doesn't create from thought alone. It responds to coherence. When your mind and body speak the same language, the message becomes magnetic. Think of it like tuning a violin. You can play the notes, but if the strings are out of tune, the sound won't resonate. Your reality is that sound. Until your inner field plays in harmony, the melody of success won't be heard by the universe. And when the strings align, when belief, emotion, and vibration are synchronized, the field listens, and it responds, not because you forced it to, but because you finally become a clear instrument of what you desire to create. We're taught to believe that intensity of desire is the fuel for manifestation, that if you want something badly enough, it will happen. But the field doesn't respond to how much you want. It responds to how clearly you feel what you want, and in what direction that feeling is sent. Intensity without clarity is like shouting into a storm. Emotion without direction is like lightning without a path. It lights up the sky but doesn't strike ground. In the language of neuroscience, coherence is not just poetic, it's literal. Emotion isn't just a feeling, it's an electromagnetic command. It organizes the signals your brain sends and the fields your heart emits. When that emotion is scattered, the signal is weak. But when that emotion is focused, congruent, and steady, the brain listens, the body listens, and so does the universe. Napoleon Hill understood this well. He said, "A burning desire is the starting point of all achievement." But he never stopped there. Because desire without discipline, without focus, without emotional precision, is just fire with no direction. It burns, but it doesn't build. For desire to create, it must be shaped by clarity. It must be led by a steady hand. And that hand is emotional coherence. That's why a small ritual can change everything. 2 minutes a day, not of wishful thinking, but of deeply felt truth. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. Feel the end result. Not as a fantasy, but as a certainty already lived. Let the heart beat in rhythm with that reality. Let the breath move as if you were already there. In those 2 minutes, you're not visualizing. You're transmitting. You're instructing the field on what is real, not someday, but now. Think of emotion as electricity. Thought is the wire. The emotion powers the signal. But a wire without current does nothing. A current without wire is chaotic. Together they create illumination. Together they form a circuit. That circuit is creation. And that creation is not delayed by time. It's activated by resonance. Not when you want it, but when you become it. Not every pursuit of success comes from clarity. Sometimes it comes from lack, a silent wound that whispers, "Maybe if I achieve this, I'll finally be enough." On the surface, it looks like drive, like ambition, like high standards, but underneath it's survival. It's a nervous system trying to earn its right to rest. And that frequency, though polished with good intentions, transmits the vibration of insufficiency. You can't vibrate fulfillment while rooted in emptiness. You can't build abundance on the soil of self-doubt. When success becomes a strategy to escape yourself, the field picks up on the signal. The language may say, "I'm ready to receive," but the emotion says, "I still don't believe I deserve." And the field, sensitive, intelligent, unflinching, mirrors back not your words, but your emotional truth. Napoleon Hill warned of this trap. A mind dominated by fear cannot generate sustainable prosperity, because prosperity in its essence is safety. It's trust. It's a nervous system at peace with expansion. When you chase success from fear, you might get moments of breakthrough, but they won't last, because fear doesn't build roots, it only builds tension. So here is the shift. Real success, the kind that expands and sustains, doesn't come to fill your emptiness. It comes because you're already full, not perfect, not complete, but grounded, present, connected. When your success is no longer a way to fix something broken inside you, but an overflow of who you've become, then it stabilizes, then it multiplies, because it's no longer tied to your worth. It's just an echo of your wholeness. Imagine trying to harvest fruit from a tree still struggling for sunlight. No matter how much you pull, the fruit won't come, because it's not time, because the roots need nourishment, because the leaves still tremble in shadow. Scarcity is that shadow. It doesn't feed, it starves, and when you try to manifest from it, you don't create. You compensate, you perform, you reach, but the signal never lands. To shift your frequency, you don't need to want more. You need to feel enough. That's the paradox. Fulfillment begins not after success, but before. It's a seed, not a reward. And when you plant it with gratitude, with peace, with quiet certainty, the field responds. Not to your urgency, but to your wholeness. There is a kind of sabotage that doesn't scream. It doesn't throw obstacles in your path. It lives in your body, quiet, familiar, invisible. It's the subtle, repeated choice to pull back just when you're about to expand, to overthink when clarity starts to form, to delay action until the moment of alignment passes, and the mind justifies it, always. But the body knows, the body remembers, and the field responds to the body's vibration more than the mind's explanation. You may say you're ready for more, but if your energy field is addicted to stress, chaos, or guilt, your baseline frequency becomes survival. And the universe doesn't create through survival, it creates through coherence. That's where the invisible loop of sabotage hides, not in lack of desire, but in excess of fear, not in lack of discipline, but in the comfort of familiar patterns, even if they hurt. There's a biological truth here. The chemistry of fear is addictive. Worry becomes a habit. Tension becomes identity. And soon the signal you send, even while saying the right words, is dissonant. This isn't failure. It's not weakness. It's simply programming. And what has been programmed can be rewired, but not through force, through frequency, through gentle, conscious disruption of the pattern. That's why silence is so powerful. 3 minutes, no distractions, no affirmations, just presence, just breath. In that stillness, your body recalibrates, your field clears, and you begin to feel the subtle difference between urgency and alignment, between noise and signal. You're not choosing from panic, but from power, not from doubt, but from direction. Think of a glass filled with sand. If you pour clean water into it, it just muddies, there's no clarity. But if you first empty the sand, the old thoughts, the old fears, the stored tension, the water flows clean. Your energy becomes precise, your intention becomes magnetic, and the sabotage loses its grip, not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it. You chose stillness, and in that stillness, the frequency of clarity finally had space to rise. Gratitude is not an accessory to success. It is the frequency that sustains it. Not the kind of gratitude you say out of politeness, not the mental checklist of blessings before sleep, but the deep, embodied certainty that what is meant for you is already on its way, that even in delay, you are held, that even in uncertainty there is guidance. True gratitude is not a reaction, it's a vibration. It's a way of standing in the field of life and saying, I trust you. And that trust That stabilization of energy is what refines the signal you send to the universe. It's what transforms wanting into knowing, seeking into recognizing, desiring into aligning. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "A grateful mind attracts the forces that sustain success. Not create it, sustain it." Because attracting is the easy part. We're all attracting all the time, but maintaining that vibration, especially in silence, especially when results are slow, that's where the true mastery begins. Gratitude becomes the stabilizer, the anchor, the inner calibration that keeps the signal clear even when the outer world is still rearranging. This is the energetic difference. When you're grateful only for what you already have, your field repeats the past. But when you're grateful for what's coming, with a heart that feels its presence before it arrives, you generate a new signal, one that collapses time, one that speeds the alignment between your now and your next. Visualize a satellite dish. If it's slightly off angle, the signal weakens. There's static, delay, confusion. Gratitude is the adjustment, the subtle turn that locks the beam, that clears the noise, that allows the message to land fully. You don't need more power. You need less interference, and gratitude, real embodied anticipatory gratitude, is the most precise tuner of frequency that you have. Not because it changes the world, but because it changes you. And when you shift, the field shifts with you, not as reward, as reflection. Gratitude doesn't make you more worthy. It reveals that you always were. There is a science to alignment, not a rigid science, but a living one. A process that begins not in the world, but in your own definition of what success means. Because if you're chasing a version of success inherited from others, from culture, family, fear, then no amount of tuning will bring peace. The signal will always distort. The field will always resist. Step 1 is mental clarity. Strip success of its borrowed costumes. Ask yourself, what does success feel like in your body, not just in your bank account? What does it taste like in your days, not just in your dreams? Define it by resonance, not by reputation. And when you do, the fog begins to lift. The target becomes yours, not society's, not your past's, not your wounds. Step 2 is coherent emotion. The heart must believe what the mind sees. This is where most people fall out of alignment. They visualize the goal, but feel unworthy of it. They set the intention, but carry doubt in their chest. Coherence is the bridge. Feel the outcome as already real, not just imagined, but remembered. Anchor it in your nervous system. 2 minutes. Deep breath. Eyes closed. Feel it like a memory returning home. And the field starts to match your certainty, not your craving. Step 3 is magnetic action. This is not about hustle. It's about precision. It's about moving when your energy says yes, not when fear screams go. When your body feels peace, not pressure. From that place, each step is small but potent. Each gesture carries charge. You're no longer reacting, you're transmitting. And what you do echoes far beyond what you see. Napoleon Hill captured this truth. What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. But belief is not a chant, it's a frequency. It's the vibration that emerges when thought, emotion, and biology say the same thing at the same time. That's what makes the mind magnetic. That's what opens the field. Imagine success as a radio station. You don't change the program by banging on the device. You don't yell at the static. You tune, gently, attentively, repeatedly, until the signal becomes clear, until the music of your potential plays uninterrupted through every cell of your being. Success is not a stroke of luck. It is not a prize for the privileged, nor a miracle reserved for the few. It is a resonance, a frequency that arises when belief, biology, and emotion speak the same silent language, when your inner state becomes a mirror so clear that the universe cannot help but reflect it back. Napoleon Hill taught us, every success begins in a mind that believes and persists with disciplined emotion. Not just any emotion, not fleeting hope or shallow excitement, but the deep, disciplined kind, the emotion that holds its vibration even in silence. The kind that keeps going when no one's watching. The kind that doesn't beg, doesn't prove, doesn't chase. It simply becomes. And as Bruce Lipton revealed, the biology of belief shows us something revolutionary. Your cells, the literal fabric of your being, respond to the emotional signals you send. You are not just thinking your life, you are broadcasting it, feeling it, becoming it, cell by cell, thought by thought, day by sacred day. So the question is no longer, how do I attract success? That's the wrong pursuit. The real secret is becoming the kind of mind, the kind of body, the kind of presence that can hold what it says it wants. Because when you truly become it, not perform it, not fake it, not beg for it, but truly become it, the field adjusts, the path clears, and what was once distant begins to arrive. So pause, not to wait, but to witness. Witness your own transformation. Witness your own alignment. Ask yourself not just what you want, but what you're ready to sustain. Because in the end, success is not applause, it is harmony. It is the invisible music between your truth and the universe's response. Picture a tuning fork. The success you seek is not outside of you, playing faintly in the distance. It is waiting for you to vibrate at the same pitch. And when you do, when your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your energy strike that invisible note, everything around you begins to sing the same melody. That is the secret frequency, and it has always been within you.